Hello and welcome to 7 for 12 Live on a day where England went 1-1. Apologies for the late show. I've been playing in a golf day this afternoon, and to tell you how badly my partner played, I did 18,000 steps today looking for his golf ball. I think Virat Kohli's had a little bit of a worse day than what I've had. Joe Root's had a great day. England have had a great day. Ollie Robinson, fantastic. John's managed to get to London. Don't forget just to like, subscribe, and leave a review. Well, John, I managed to get 18 holes in. You managed to get all the way back down to London. Now you've had time to breathe, dissect, and everything that's gone with what's gone on in this test match. England Joe Root can be proud, but Ollie Robinson, what a fantastic day that kid has had.
There we go. I'm back. Sorry, you were looking confused. And look, what we learned was that India had their collapse on day one, didn't they? And they worked hard to get themselves back into the game. They played really well on day three, and we were daring to dream that we might be about to see something very, very special at that famous old ground again. But England were just waiting, really. They knew the new ball was going to be key. They knew that India were quite fortunate in the first session of day three, in much the same way that they've been unfortunate at the start of day one. And so it proved. And Pujara and Kohli's wickets were always going to be massive. And the fact that Pujara didn't add to his overnight score, that Kohli only added 10, as soon as Kohli was out, you pretty much knew it was going to be going England's way. It was pretty much the perfect test for England, wasn't it? Certainly from, if you consider from a bowling perspective, they bowled India out for 78, and then they wrapped things up again in an hour and a half really today. And then with the bat, they scored over 400. I mean, that in essence is a template, isn't it, of how to win test matches. So credit to Joe Root. We were all wondering how England were going to come back after that humbling at Lord's. And now we know, England and India are going to be going. They may not be heavyweights, India may become a heavyweight of the ages, but this is two teams that are very evenly matched in English conditions, and I've just got the feeling this is going to go all the way to day 4, maybe day 5 of Old Trafford before we find out which is the better side and who is going to take that trophy that you saw in the little video a few moments ago.
Yeah, absolutely. And where do I start? We start right at the very beginning. Jimmy Anderson. I'll come on to Jimmy a little bit later on, and when my predictions, I think it could be for further down the line, which could be interesting for Jimmy. But I am so proud.
I'd just like to say. So we've just done a podcast, following on podcast. Check it out if you want a more of an English kind of like slant to the test, but also. Harmy's just spoken about Jimmy Anderson, and you are not going to want to go anywhere. You've got to listen to what he's about to say. We're going to talk about the match and then just find out what Harmy has got to say about Jimmy Anderson. You will not be disappointed. Anyway, sorry, carry on, Harmy.
The thing I'm so proud of is at the end of Lord's, there was a kid came out, and I call him a kid because I still think he's a baby face, and he is England's greatest ever batsman. And he came out and he took everything on his shoulders. It's my fault.
Yeah.
What happened in that madness hour? And I'm talking about the England captain, Joe Root. And his celebration to get the 100 told me everything about his demeanour and where he was at. His celebration was thank you to the dressing room. A lot of people were saying, he was pointing at where the press box was and there was family there. For me, he was pointing at the dressing room because it was like he took one for the team at the end of Lords. I'm going to take the pressure off you, lads. Yes, I'll take the blame. It might not have been all my fault because there's some experienced bowlers on here and you put the ball in the wrong areas and you lot potentially took the wrong decisions. But I'm going to take it and I'll take it on my shoulders. And after 10 days, it's going to be on me. And let's see what we get to at Headingley. And within 45, 50 minutes of Headingley, he was repaired by his bowlers because I put the ball in the right area. And basically, that was when the game was won. And I think when Joe got his 100, I think that was a celebration of, it was elation of where his team position was in, but it was also, I think, a mark to the dressing room to say, you know what, thanks very much. I took the pressure and I took the criticism for yous, and yous have put me, along with myself, in a position to be in a great way of winning this game at Headingley and going 1-1. And I think that, for me, that just tells you everything about Joe as a captain, Joe as a player, Joe as a person. And I think that, for me, is what I will take away from this test match, because I think a lot has been said on 7 for 12 or on TalkSport or on everything that's been about Joe Root. But for me, this test match sums him up. Is everything that goes, or these last 10 days sums him up. And I thought he was brilliant this week. I thought his decision making was excellent. And he's led his side to back into a series where, let's see where India are come the Oval compared to where England were, and let's see what Virat Kohli is, because they've got to make changes, and they will make changes, and they'll strengthen. There'll be a different India side going to the Oval. But I thought this week, I think Joe's been magnificent. Jimmy Anderson set the tone, and I think Jimmy Anderson, his experience is wearing off on. Is helping the likes of Robinson and Overton. I thought Overton's had a good week, but I think we've got a find here. And for me, the finder is Ollie Robinson. Again, at a ground he knows very well. He's a Yorkshire boy. And I thought he started excellent today. The ball he got to Pujara with, which Pujara left, shoulder arms, swinging back in. I thought it was a fantastic ball, which got England going on the road to victory today. And I think Ollie Robinson has bowled magnificently well. He hasn't bowled too dissimilar to Stuart Broad in the past, which helps Jimmy Anderson from a partnership point of view. Don't get me wrong. Stuart Broad's played 150 test matches, and he is an absolute legend of the game. And Ollie Robinson's just starting, and there will be times where he goes up and down. But I think they complement each other very, very well. So I was chuffed to bits for Robinson. I was really pleased for Joe Root. In England have just put themselves back in the series. And let's see what India are made of, because that was a side for the majority of this test match who weren't at the races. I thought lacklustre in the field. I thought they made a lot of poor decisions, whether they were bowling or whether they were batting. And if it wasn't for a stand between, for a few hours between Pujara and Kohli yesterday, then this game should have been finished yesterday, because I think England have deserved to win this test match and win it early.
Let's hear from the England captain, Joe Root, who has been speaking following England's victory by an innings and 76 runs.
It was a very clinical performance. I thought took advantage of the conditions on day one. I thought we bowled exceptionally well, and it was almost a perfect storm. Everything seemed to fall our way. Just perfect little nicks to the keeper. It got us off to a great start. It was a brilliant bowling performance. Found the length very early on this wicket. I exploited it very well, and then that partnership to set things up, the opening partnership, I think was almost a turning point in the game for me. To have such a substantial first partnership was exceptional, and credit to those two lads. Now under the pump off the back of last week, to come out and perform like that and get his 135 for none was brilliant. So it really set the game up, gave the opportunity for the rest of us to go and make that big first innings score that me and Silvers harp on to you guys about all of the time. You know, the hard work that we put in yesterday, I think we reaped our rewards today. We held the game really well. It was quite attritional, but going at around 2.5 and over, we knew that when that second new ball came round, we were going to create opportunities again. And credit to India, they played very well. They did. They made it very difficult for us. There was some really good batting yesterday in bowler-friendly conditions. But for us to be able to start as we did today, 3 maidens, build pressure again, and then we actually were clinical with our catching, which was a nice change as well. Took some good catches, good chances, and sat here now 1-1 with a big smiley dressing room and two big games ahead of us.
That's the thing, though, isn't it? That was the perfect Test match for England. We were in a similar position earlier this year when England had beaten India 1-0 up with 3 to play. Question was, can England do it again? The answer was no, they can't. England bowled India out for 78. They put on 100 for the first wicket. They took every catch that went their way, even the ones that shouldn't have been caught. Like Butler should have taken that catch today to dismiss Kohli. He didn't dive to his right. Root took it. On another day, that goes down. Johnny Bairstow with that catch of Rahul yesterday. On most days, that goes down. It was an extraordinary catch. Look, I don't want to do down what I've just said because it was a brilliant team performance from England. Some standout. We asked questions about Hamid. Well, he answered them. We asked them about Milan. He answered them. Robinson has been phenomenal. Can he come again? Can he do it in the second, third spell? Can he do this, that? Yes, he can. Jimmy Anderson and Joe Root, the captain scored 100. The top 4 scored 50s, plus for the first time in 8 years. And that's just kind of what worries me a little bit as an England fan. I'm just thinking, well, can they do it again? Or am I just being pessimist? Am I just being a pessimistic England fan? I don't know.
No, I think you're being a reality of England fan that what we've seen over the course of the last few years from this England Test match team is that this is what we get. We get ups and downs and the peaks and troughs that we go with it. The one thing that we are always guaranteed is that Root will score runs and Anderson will take wickets, or Anderson will set the tone, and he did that. You mentioned about the catching. Yes, the catching's been poor, and that's when it's sometimes surprising. When we do catch everything, and the Bairstow catch was phenomenal. But this is the high level of professional sport. This is the high level of Test match cricket. You've got to take your chances, because if you have got a batting unit, which doesn't normally get you 400 and 450 plus, you need something special from the field. And that's what we always said during my time when Nasser was captain, and even when Dhoni was captain, that it was like when you play against Australia, we might not be able to match them on the levels of runs or things that go on. But if we do 2 or 3 special things in the field, not only does it give us a lift, it brings us closer together. And I thought England did that brilliantly this week. I really did. And I thought Joe's press conference there was absolutely brilliant. And it was typical Joe. He never mentioned once about his innings, never mentioned once about the 400 and big score. He mentioned this is something that we bang on to use about me and Silvers. But what he did mention, he mentioned people who need a mention. Burns, we haven't mentioned Burns. We haven't mentioned Hamid. That these are the guys that we haven't mentioned who set this game up to give Joe a chance to get that 100, to give Jimmy Anderson a chance to go and get his wickets, and Overton and Robinson. So it was typical Joe Root at press conference. He took everything on him at Lord's. He gave everything against and away from him and praised everybody else and made them feel good about themselves going to the Oval. And let's see where we get to. We've got to start building things to make this team a lot more stronger and better. And the message that I get out the England captain there is he wants to praise these players up who need praising. Jimmy Anderson doesn't need praise. Joe Root doesn't need praise. The guys like Burns and Hamid and Overton and Robinson, they could do with seeing some nice headlines in the paper tomorrow morning and leading into the Oval, just to make them feel good about themselves and a spring in the step when they get to the Oval. Because like he said, got 2 games left and what's going to be a fascinating end to a great series. And we need all the big busted chests and the shoulders pumped and everything going for when we get to the Oval and then Manchester after that.
Let's hear from Virat Kohli, who was asked several questions, as you can imagine, slightly different feeling to a lot of them. But, Pujara came up. There was whether Ishant Sharma was mentioned, whether India need another batsman in there. Let's just hear, get a little flavour about what he was saying.
Very pleased with how Cheteshwar batted this innings. Outside noise, we don't know what's going on and we don't care. So that's none of our business. We know that he was playing well, and it's just a matter of time when he starts to find his rhythm again. Look, this game has been kind of a aberration in how we have gone in this series. First 2 games, we put ourselves in positions where we won 1 game and we had the opportunity to win the first one as well. So we analyze ourselves as a team in terms of what situations we are putting ourselves in, not with numbers. That all happens on the outside. So whether we are helping the team to build partnerships and are we putting the team in good positions is our only focus. And there is no connect between the focuses on the outside and the focuses within the group.
Yeah, look, he was... it's a brave man that tries to take on Virat Kohli in his press conferences any day, let alone after he's lost. But look, I watched the press conference. What came out of it was this: they are not going to bring in a batsman. They're not going to go in with a 4-man bowling attack. That is not going to happen. But you get the feeling there will be changes, and you do get the feeling that Ashwin will play at the Oval. And you do get a feeling that maybe they're going to go against their 4-man pace attack idea, and they will bring in someone like Thakur, and possibly Ishant Sharma and Mohammad Siraj will drop to one side. But then, to be honest with you, a lot of Virat Kohli is about belief in the way they go about things. So if India rock up at the Oval with the same 11, I wouldn't actually be that surprised either.
Yeah, he's a very stubborn character, is Virat Kohli. I thought it was a good press conference. I thought he spoke very, very well. He backed his team. He backed his man in Pujara, because there's a lot of noise inside and outside India of the former Pujara himself and Rahane. Rahane's the one that is probably the most vulnerable now, because of he still hasn't got the volume of runs that India fans would probably like. I thought Pujara batted really well. I thought he was very proactive in this test match, in this second innings. But there was also an air of inevitability for me that England were criticised for bowling too straight to him yesterday. But I think they did that because they knew they were bowling at somebody who was out of form, not in great rhythm, and he could fall over or make a bad decision, and England would get him out. And that's what happened this morning. England bowled tightly, bowled nicely, and an error of judgment. I thought it was a great bit of bowling by Ollie Robinson, by the way, to get the ball to come back in as far as he did. And a man who is always starting new, and a new day, even though he's got 91, he's still starting new in England against a brand new ball. There are a lot of complications go with that. So it wasn't a surprise to me this morning that England got India out. They capitulated because I've said it, and I said it before, whether it was on the Cricket Collective, whether it was on the Following On podcast or on YouTube 7 for 12. Rishabh Pant in England is not a number 6, and he will never be a number 6 the way he plays. And, talk about Adam Gilchrist. Adam Gilchrist had a defence. Adam Gilchrist had a way of playing which could counteract. I'm not going to say Adam Gilchrist had a cricket brain, because that would be a disservice to Rishabh Pant, because I think there is a cricket brain in there. But the way he goes about his job in England against a moving ball, he's not a number 6. He's a number 7, and that's where he's at. And that's why I said I wouldn't be averse to go with Jadeja 6, because he's got a better technique and a better defence than Pant against the moving ball in England. with Pandit at 7 and Ashwin at 8. I think that would be a more of a solid middle order. But India will make a change. I think Sharma and Siraj will come out. The reason why I bring Siraj out is because I didn't believe that Siraj could play the intensity for 5 test matches the way he's gone. And that's not a criticism of him. This is England. This is the roller coaster of traveling around the country. And that's what you get. And that you do get tired. You do make mistakes. It is very the intense battle. So that's why I take Siraj out and bring him back for Manchester. And then have a decision to make on that. So for me, Ashwin comes in at 8. Kaur comes in as well. And they become a 2-seamer, all-rounder and 2 spinners. That would be a better balance. It still doesn't get away from Pan, bat and 6. But, yeah, this is the way India will want to go. I just look at the start that they had. You cannot get bowled out in the first innings for 78 and expect to win a test match. End of.
Okay. Well, look, there's plenty of questions coming to the show. So let's get on to Harmy. Ask Harmy in the comments section. Okay, well, thanks for getting in your questions. Global Trekker 23 says, were you most impressed by the result or by the response following that previous test when England were obviously somewhat embarrassed on the last day?
The response more than the result, because I know they go hand in hand, but the response, England could have capitulated. England could have completely laid down and got their bellies tickled, and I accused them of that at Lords, and I thought they did. You can't get away from that. But when you look in the mirror and you tell yourself some home truths and you come back a lot better, a lot stronger and a bit wiser for what happened, then that's a sign of a good cricketer, a good character. And if you put all that together, a good team, a decent team. And I think that's what England are trying to build under Joe Root. Anderson set the tone. So the response was always going to be quite strong. Whether the toss was the right thing or the wrong thing, I think Virat did the right thing at the top. I just think it was brilliant from Anderson. So the response was brilliant to see. And because the response was what it was, the result took care of itself. 78 all out, first innings, never going to win.
Brilliant stuff. Dhruv says, Sam Curran hasn't looked convincing. Who do you think can replace him? Good question, because, of course, there are some options. Mark Wood is back bowling. Chris Woakes also fit. So there are some options there, aren't there?
There are, and I think you're right. It is a valid point. It is a good question. And I think Sam comes out. I did say that in the last test match, and he bowled well first innings. I think Sam could do it coming out for Sam. I think it would be the best thing for him, just to take a break from the spotlight. I think he's fighting against himself, both with bat and ball in Test match cricket, to understand not only what his role is, but how he wants to play the game. I think he needs to find a length in Test matches that is a containing length, that he doesn't concede runs, which then brings his in-swinger or his wicket-taking ball into play. I think at the minute, Sam Curran tries to take a wicket with every ball he bowls. And having been not sat here, but as a 42-year-old experienced man who's about 5 stone heavier than what he was when he played, there was a certain Jimmy Anderson who's got 640-odd Test wickets. And when I described him a few days ago, when Jimmy Anderson first started, Jimmy could bowl an in-swinger. Jimmy could bowl an away swinger, a bouncer, a yorker, and all that. The problem with Jimmy was he wanted to bowl them all in one over. I think Sam's in that sort of situation. Jimmy got the best out of Jimmy, and look where he's gone. I think Sam Curran, because of one-day cricket, might not get the exposure to red ball cricket to learn his craft of what is in swinging conditions, what is right to take a wicket, and in non-swinging conditions, because he's not an extreme pace, where do I bowl to not go for runs or not get milked or not look innocuous? And I think that's the challenge for Sam Curran. The one thing I will say is he is a fantastic young cricketer and somebody I don't think we can discard. I just think we have to educate and help to be a little bit better in situations when things aren't in his favour from a ball point of view. As his replacement, I think Wood might come back in. Overton has done a great job. We have to look at Anderson and his fitness and whether he can get through these next two. Bear in mind, we're going to Emirates Old Trafford after that. But Overton and Robinson, I think, both play in the next Test match. And it'll be Anderson and Wood, or Wood and another if Jimmy just needs a week off.
Okay, great question there, Drew. Hope we answered it well enough for you. And G. Paul, welcome back. G. Paul says England came back strong from the Lord's debacle. Are there any concerns still in this team, or is all solved heading to the Oval?
No, I don't think all is solved, G. Paul. I think, and welcome back. I don't think all is solved. I don't think you can do that with this team. I think we're still a long way from the path of being England, the white ball side. I think we still have some education to go. I still think we're heavily reliant on 2 or 3 individuals who are getting us out of trouble when things aren't going well. I'm thinking of the likes of Anderson and Root especially, Stokes when he was in there. So, no, I think we still need to get better and get our confidence better by putting more days and more in a row, our ducks in a row more often than not. And I think that is something that the challenge is for Chris Silverwood and Joe Root moving forward. So it's a good day. It's been a great Test match. Where we get to, well, time will tell from this series going when we get to Manchester. But a positive week is always good when you go to the capital.
Brilliant stuff. Well, look, if you want your question to be answered by Harmy, drop a question in hashtag the comment section or hashtag Ask Harmy on Twitter, or just keep watching and get involved, really. But look, I said to you at the start of the show, you've got to hang around for a prediction that Harmy is going to make about his former teammate Jimmy Anderson. Well, it's just around the corner in Harmy's predictions. So, Harmy, you've just got a little feeling, haven't you? There's a hunch. You haven't heard anything. You've not spoken to the player. It's based on nothing more than what's going on up in this big brain of yours. But give the 7 for 12 viewers an idea about what it is that you expect could happen in the Old Trafford Test match against India.
Well, if he does watch this, which I'm sure he probably won't, but if he does watch this, I might get a phone call off one of my former teammates in the next few days to see you talking absolute nonsense. I've just got a funny feeling that Jimmy might pack in. He might retire at the end of this series at Old Trafford. And if I was Jimmy, I'd think about it as well, because not for anything today. Yesterday, when he looked a bit tired, and there was people questioning whether he was fit or he's not, and question marks going into Lords whether he was fit or he's not. But there's a lot of big question marks on the Ashes and whether the Ashes will go ahead, whether it will be a crammed in Ashes, or whether families will not be able to go. And Jimmy's a family man. He's a big family man. And whether Daniela and the kids will not be allowed to go. In the last Test match is at Old Trafford. He's got a stand. He's got an end named after him. He's going to bowl from the Jimmy Anderson end. He's got the wood over Virat Kohli at this minute in time, one of the greats of all time. He's got nothing to prove, never will have. For me, I still think he is up there, and he should be talked in the echelons of the greatest sportsman that we have ever produced in Daley Thompson, Steve Redgrave, you name it, Wayne Rooney, the whole lot from all sports. You can throw anybody you want at me, but I'll back my man and say Jimmy Anderson is one of the best that we've ever produced. And why wouldn't you want to go out at Old Trafford at the end of a series when you potentially could win without the Ashes at the end of it, and not go till next year when you deserve to go out in England as the all-time great and have a fanfare, as Alistair Cook. So Alistair Cook said it was a benefit match at the Oval against India. Well, why not have your benefit match when you knock Virat Kohli over again to win the series at the ground in the end you named after? What a fairy tale it would be. I've just got a funny feeling that might happen.
Well, you heard it here first. If it does, I'm not going to add anything more to that. I think you've pretty much summed it up. It would be a perfect way to finish, wouldn't it? Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. I mean, if you look at next year, there's 3 tests against New Zealand and 3 against South Africa. if the Ashes this winter doesn't go ahead, or it's a reduced side, I mean, even if the Ashes does go ahead, is Jimmy Anderson really going to bow out at the end of the Ashes, middle of the night when nobody's watching, with a weakened side possibly? Or is he going to wait till next summer when it's New Zealand and South Africa, last test will be at the Oval? That doesn't quite sound right. And then, of course, England go away to Pakistan. Is he going to retire there? I can't see that. Then there's a little tour to New Zealand, I think, at the start of 2023. No, not going to retire then. Then there's the Ashes, 2023. How old will he be there? 41? Well, I tell you what, Harvey, it's either he retires at Old Trafford in 2021 or he retires at the Oval, wherever the 5th Ashes test is, in 2023. So either he's going to be 39 or 41. There's my prediction. It's one or the other.
For me, he's the best fast bowler on this planet still at this time, with a Duke ball in England in his home conditions, and he's got the wood over one of the greatest players in this generation. I think I'd go out now. I really would.
On his own terms. Love it. Love it.
I'll tell you what he would be. Well, it can't be any more of a hero status, but can you imagine trying to get tickets for any point of that 5 days? What a test match it would be.
Brilliant. Well, look, we'll find out, won't we? And Harvey will front up, even if he does get that call from Jimmy Anderson in the next few days saying, what are you talking about? We'll tell you. Harvey, brilliant stuff as ever. Thanks so much for staying up in India or watching in England. We'll be back with a live Q&A preview on Wednesday. That will be probably about 1 p.m, 1:30 UK. So it'll be about 5:30, 6 o'clock in the afternoon in India. So get your questions in for there. We'll have a better idea about whether Butler plays. We'll have a better idea about whether Ashwin, whether Thakur, whether Sam Curran, whether Ollie Pope, whether Chris Wokes, whether Mark Wood. There's plenty of questions after England level the series. 1 over 2 to play. You really could not ask for anything more. Well, I can ask this. Carry on watching us here on 7 for 12. Thanks for watching.